Testing. 1, 2.
Can I get everyone to start taking your seats? School district folks to the stage, please. Testing, testing. Well, good evening, everyone. Oh, we can do better than that. Good evening, everyone. Very good, very good. I'm Lance Hammonds, and I want to welcome you guys to the community conversation regarding SAP. So glad you're here. Glad you guys are getting involved. I want to recognize, as we get started, I want to recognize some of the sponsoring groups. We have Tommy Travis with the South DeKalb Coalition. Tommy, where are you? Okay, he's around here somewhere. We have myself and Ms. Tara Hancock with the Rockbridge Coalition. We have Donna Priest Brown with SDIA-E, and that E is for education. We have the East DeKalb Coalition. Ms. Gina Mangum chairs that group. Also, if you have not registered to vote, we have the People's Agenda here, making sure that you're registered to vote. Voting is important. It drives the bus. If you're not there, I see a hand there. Jocelyn O'Neill, Greater Towers Community Association. And why this is important, we're trying to rally our community to come out and stand up for itself. We own this thing, so we need to come up and speak up for ourselves. We have some very important guests here tonight also. I want to thank Coach Jordan from Towers High School for bringing his group. Towers High School, where are you? All right, Towers is in the house. Okay, now somebody also told me that Bethune Middle's in the house. Where's Bethune at? Come on, Bethune, make a little noise. Okay, how about Lithonia? Is Lithonia in the house? Okay. So we've done that. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a little conversation. And are there any other schools here? Very good, very good. Is Roland Elementary here? Okay, Roland Elementary, all right. Peachcrest. Okay, y'all got to speak up out there. Which one? Is Canby Lane in the house? Okay, how about Arabia Mountain? Somebody told me Arabia Mountain's in here too. Okay, any DeKalb County school, just give me a shout out real quick. Okay, we got it covered. We got it covered. Very good, very good. So I want to get this thing started by thanking our host. I saved our host for the last introduction. We're at Peace Baptist Church, and initially, it's amazing how God works. Because this was going to be a virtual meeting, because I told somebody, we'd like to have a community meeting, but we don't have a place. And at a meeting, Cedar Grove, there was a discussion, and Lady Barnette heard the discussion. And that's how God works. So I'm going to ask Lady Barnette and Peace Baptist Church to welcome us.
I'll turn this over to the pastor, Pastor Tyrone Barnette, best pastor in DeKalb County.
I pay her to say that every week, so It's good to have you all here today, and we really do believe in making sure that our voices are heard in our community, and particularly when it comes to our young people and our children. And so I want to applaud them for doing this, because a lot of times what happens is that different entities will just make changes and then just have everybody to just have to deal with that. But I love the fact that you all are asking for our input before you actually make the decision to be able to move forth, to find out what the community really needs. And we know here at our church, we really do have our ear to the street to know what's going on, and we want to make sure that what happens is going to be good for us and for everyone related to us. So we thank you all so much. Our church is also about to do something to deal with the unhoused and underhoused in our community. As you know, that's a major issue that's happening in DeKalb County, and so you'll be hearing a lot about that. New Life and ourselves and Frontline are going to be working along with our county and many other organizations to really put together a wonderful way to be able to take care of our hurting people. Some of the people that we're really concerned with are the families that live in these extended stay motels, paying $2,000+ a month to be able to do that. And we're going to be really making sure that we're able to handle that and be able to have a place where those ladies and their families will be able to have a safe place to live, and building on our campus a wonderful place to be able to house hundreds of families, if you would, that will be able to get out of those places, which means that DeKalb, they're going to have children there who are now being moved from place to place. They'll have a stable place, 3 meals a day, taking care of them 3 meals a day, and also making sure that they've got good after school, and the moms can work and be able to get out of the cycle of poverty that they've been in for a long period of time. So we ask you to help us with that as we begin to do our work here, but it does start with our children. And so we're glad that they're here today and be able to hear. I've been listening to what's been going on. I thank you for meeting with the pastors. He met with our DeKalb pastors, and we were able to hear from their heart what's going on. And so we're excited about them hosting that today, and you all being here. So have a good time. I put on the stage my better half, my wife, and so she's gonna bless you. I'm gonna be with you till about 7 because I'm babysitting tonight my 7-month-old grandchild, so that his mom and dad, my daughter and her husband, can have a night out. And so I'm gonna leave about 7 so he can get his bedtime on time. Amen. So I appreciate you all so much. Enjoy the night.
Next, we're going to have Ms. Tara Hancock. Tara chairs the Education Committee for the Rockbridge Coalition, and Tara is going to give us the purpose for this meeting tonight. Tara?
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for coming out. This has been a labor of love for the Rockbridge Coalition and I, so we are so excited to have you guys here. Community, we are so excited that you guys showed up, so give you guys a round of applause, please. Thank you, Dr. Sauce, and your leadership team for even showing up tonight and just being present to hear our voice. So the Rockbridge Coalition, our mission remains extremely clear. It's to foster an inclusive and vibrant environment where everyone feels welcome. We promote economic development and support for our local schools through volunteerism, creation of programming and initiatives that strengthen the literacy and advocacy and collaboration within our communities. The challenge before us, the prospect of closing 27 schools across our DeKalb County communities. It stands to disrupt the stability of our neighborhoods. The fabric of our daily lives will change with the closure of schools. We acknowledge the reality that enrollment has declined and there are over 22,000 seats that are remaining empty. We know that this trend is a challenge for the district to sustain fiscally. So we know that there has to be a change. However, our stance and our vision is that we firmly believe that school closures should not default the response to under-enrollment. The school buildings are long-term public assets in our neighborhood and anchors for the families and services in our communities. We must truly evaluate enrollment recovery strategies, housing alignment, adaptive reuses of those buildings. It is essential to encourage structured and transparent collaboration, which is what you all are doing tonight, so we appreciate that. Our process must be accessible, inclusive, and evidence-based, ensuring that every voice, especially those families here and the students here, making sure that they have a seat at the table. We must find ways as a community to retain young and growing families by offering neighborhood programming that support academic achievement, improves literacy, and strengthens the passing rate. Our mission is to create a better future for the students and families and the district as a whole. So let us commit to collaborate and have a collaborative, data-driven approach that preserves our schools and our community's vital success. Let's commit to open the pathways for enrollment recovery, smart housing alignment, as the pastor just mentioned, and adaptive reuse of the buildings that are closing. That's important for our communities to remain successful, because we cannot afford to have a six-figure drop in our property value and the crime to go up in our neighborhoods. We cannot afford to have our communities decline. So we thank you for coming to the table. Our position is clear. We want to make sure that we are fostering the community support so that we can grow together, because we do stand with you, DeKalb.
Thank you, Tara. Next, we're going to have the school district talk. And just so you guys know, that that mic right there is going to be open in just a little bit, so everybody will get a chance to ask any question you want. You're going to have can't go over 2 minutes, or that lady right there is going to take the mic from you. So it's coming. We got a couple of more things to talk about. So Dr. Sauce, if you would kind of walk us through the process and where we are.
Thank you, Mr. Hammond. I appreciate that. Y'all were in line with the bright lights. Okay. I'm inspired. I'm inspired by the presence tonight. I'm inspired by the advocacy, the leadership, the interest, the engagement in this conversation with us. Certainly this evening is a wonderful example of that, but even prior to this evening, and I know more to come. So I want to start by sincerely thanking each and every one of you for coming out this evening, for holding us accountable, for joining us at the table, sharing your perspectives, your ideas, asking your questions, some of which, of course, we've heard many already. I know we're going to hear more this evening, because no matter which scenario gets adopted, no matter what we would do or don't do, we are here to co-construct with each of you. And I mean that sincerely and genuinely. We have not made any decisions of any kind. Yes, there's been some scenarios released that undoubtedly you've seen at this point. But it's genuine in saying, and I've said this in other public spaces as well, those were intended as a place to begin conversation. Those were not intended to signal in any way that final decisions have been made, that this is a done deal, that conversation is fruitless at this point. Nothing could be further from the truth. There's many of you in here this evening that I have a prior relationship with, that have interacted with me in other spaces. Some of you have never seen me before or met me before. I only bring that up to say that I assure you that I mean what I say, I follow through, I operate in honesty and transparency, and there's many of you, or at least some of you in this room, I think, that could attest to that, to my track record. And I bring that up because I can't reiterate enough that your engagement, your perspective, your viewpoints, your experiences matter greatly in this conversation. I really appreciate what was shared about ideas for mixed use, about the real toll that empty buildings can have on folks' property values, on community pride, potential crime increases. I mean, those are important examples that any school district, particularly us, must consider when having any sort of conversation such as this. Has every possible option been explored? Has every idea been considered? Has every conversation been had and every perspective considered? Now, obviously, we can't knock on every single door in DeKalb County, but I assure you, we're going to continue to not only create spaces such as this, but welcome and join others who invite us to spaces such as this so that we can continue to engage. In a few minutes or momentarily, I'm going to invite Ms. Sarita Smith, who's serving as our Executive Director of Student Assignment, to talk a little more particulars of kind of where we are. But in a nutshell, before she comes to the mic momentarily, some of you may know, you may recall, that this conversation began internally for us about 2 years ago. And the work was dubbed, as we're still calling it, the Student Assignment Project. Before we ever got to this place or to where we are this evening, there was a volunteer stakeholder committee that was formed, and folks, who were interested submitted an application and the whole 9 yards, so that we ended up with a volunteer committee of about 150 people, teachers, parents, community leaders, district staff, other advocates, to meet monthly. And I think it might have even been bi-monthly at certain points. Am I right, Ms. Smith? Between monthly and bi-monthly for about 20 months to help us pour through historical data, enrollment, facilities usage, facility capacity, various academic programming data, years that buildings were built, various investments in buildings over time, to then develop some guiding principles of what this conversation should be centered on, what aspects should we even look at, buildings, programs, and boundaries. And then from there, worked with this group that we're partnered with. HPM is the name of the company, and they've supported school districts all over the country, including here in Georgia, to do similar work to help us dive deeper into the nuts and bolts of scenario development. So all that culminated about 4 weeks ago, I guess it was, with the release of Scenario 1. We always intended for this to be an iterative, incremental process in which we release possibilities, options, scenarios. We invite folks to spaces such as this evening and others that we're hosting to hear from you, answer questions, and then, of course, invite feedback in the way of virtual or online survey so that we can capture effectively and efficiently what folks' ideas were. I'm really excited that as the first round 1 survey closed on March 8th, we had more than 5,000 folks submit feedback. Yeah, that deserves some love. That's all. That's many of you in this room. That warms my heart because it shows that, our messaging is reaching, that there's genuine interest in the topic, and there's willingness for folks to come forward and put on the record their perspectives on the matters at hand, and to allow us to lean in on their perspectives for further development of additional scenarios. Because y'all can imagine, the smaller that number is as we go forward, the less ideas we have. And the less ideas you have, the less quality, the less impact, the less reach your changes, your revisions, and your adaptations can have. And so that's not the goal for less folks. We want as many as we can possibly hear from, in person and virtually. So again, over 5,000 responded in round 1. So next week, 2 weeks, Ms. Smith. In about 2 weeks, we're going to release Scenario 2 options, round 2 options, if you will. And those are under development now, but I know, because of course I'm a part of some of the conversations about how these could possibly be revised and evolve, I know that you all are going to see evidence of your feedback. I assure you of that. You're going to see evidence of your feedback in what we release for round 2 scenarios. But here's the other part of that. And y'all know this. This is a really hard conversation. It's hard emotionally, right? Because we know school buildings are not just buildings. And y'all referenced it in your opening remarks. Tradition, legacy, heritage, generational connections, beacons of the community. That's what school buildings are, and rightfully so. And so any conversation around potential school consolidations, potential closures, there's deep feelings and emotions attached to that. And that's where we start. Secondly, why this is hard is, our school district is a very large, diverse school district, as you know, and I mean diverse in many ways, economically, geographically, linguistically, ethnically, neighborhood configuration, right? Every aspect of diversity you can think of is represented beautifully in DeKalb County. But that also presents a lot of layers to parse through and consider in conversations such as these. Furthermore, with 139 school buildings, and several more than that as it relates to various district properties, this is like a big Rubik's Cube. Well, the kids in the back, do I have Rubik's Cube? No, they don't know. People my age, I just turned 48 earlier this week, so my generation knows about Rubik's Cube. Sorry, kids, Google it. They're talking about, how do you spell Rubik's? Anyways, it's a toy we used to play with that was kind of like every little cube on the big block had a relationship to every other cube. So I'm trying to make an analogy here. But it's like a big Rubik's Cube, right? Any twist or turn or slight change you might make over here, there's significant ripple effects over here. So that's a challenge. Now, it's why we're here. Think through all that, consider all that. But if you can envision, for those who remember what a Rubik's Cube looked like, if you can envision that, that's how challenging this is. That's how intricate this is. There's so much connective tissue around each decision in each building and cluster pattern that, again, that's why we're here, but that presents challenge that doesn't make this an easy conversation. And lastly, and again, I'm an honest broker. Some of you have heard me say in public spaces what I'm about to say. The other challenge here is we have to be honest that over time, we haven't kept all of our promises. We haven't. Let's just keep it real. There's neighborhoods, there's sections of the county that have been waiting 20, 30 years or more for certain promises to be fulfilled. I know that. Many of you in this room have been associated with the DeKalb County School District a lot longer than me. I've been associated with the school district since 2015, right? About a little more than 10 years. Many of you much longer than that. So y'all have a much longer memory than I about unfulfilled promises, assurances that weren't kept. Money ran out for this, that, or the other. You were told that this was going to happen and it didn't. I know that. And I'm very sensitive to that, which is why this is even more challenging, because some folks come to the table wanting to genuinely engage, but also have, let's just be real, some trauma that's still there from incidents that have occurred that we haven't followed through, kept a promise. And I know that. And I respect that and I appreciate that, which is why we will continue to be in these spaces, to be with you and converse with you, to hear from you, because we owe that to you. We owe that to you. We won't get it all perfect. We won't. But we're going to try to be as responsive and reflective as we can in every way of this conversation to show that your input matters. So bear with us. This is going to be a journey. We don't anticipate any recommendations to the board before late fall. And who knows? Maybe after that. That's, ultimately we'll see what the board's perspective is as they continue to review and assess the feedback that we're getting. But we don't anticipate any recommendations of any kind before late fall, maybe October, maybe November. There's not going to be nothing this spring or over the summer. So we still have some runway here to share scenarios and get more feedback before anything is eventually shared with the board. I appreciate you giving me a little bit of context. I do want to introduce Ms. Smith, who's going to give a little bit more particulars, and then we welcome questions here in a few minutes. Thank you. Ms. Smith? Thank you, everyone. Forgive me before Ms. Smith speaks. I understand one of our board members is here. Dr. Tiffany Hogan, I think you're with us. Am I right, Dr. Hogan? Are you here? Oh, there she is. Can't see in the bright lights, Dr. Hogan. Thank you, Dr. Hogan. And to show you again how connected our Board of Education is to this conversation, Dr. Hogan, I think, has been at every single one of these community engagement events, so too have a few of her colleagues. Dr. Hogan, thank you for being here this evening and for your leadership. Ms. Smith?
Thank you. I'm going to ask my guiding person in the back to put up our website. Yay. All right, so I can't see up there, guys, sorry. Sarita Smith, Executive Director of Student Assignment. So my role was to lead the SAP committee, and then I sit at the table with HPM and our operations team and share feedback from community, share feedback from our SAP committee to try to infuse that into what you eventually see as scenarios. So we are in between scenarios, so we don't have a presentation, but I want to show you where information is. We tried really, really hard to get as much information on our website as possible so people can go to one place for data, for presentations. Every time SAP met, we recorded it. It is on there so you can hear every conversation we had, everybody that so wonderfully represented, many of you, as well as any of our community meetings, our board member meetings, etc. So I'm going to walk you through just where to see stuff and walk you through where to get information for the next layer of stuff, and then we'll open it up because I know you guys really are here for questions, so we won't take too much of your time. So on the screens, you'll see that is our SAP website on DeKalbCountySchools.org. You will see like a beautiful picture or a movie playing. Right under that, there's a button that says Student Assignment Project. That's how you get there. It's on the front page. And on there, you'll see there's a few different things. Can you scroll down a little bit? So the first two things you'll see is what happened in scenario 1 and where we are for round 2, right? So if you click that yellow box for me, in there, maybe. Click the yellow box, orange box, sorry. All right, so round 1 scenario is on this page. You'll see some information about what we did. There's a video, keep scrolling. That video explains scenario 1. It explains a little bit about the SAP committee, how the SAP committee developed guiding principles, handed that over to our operation or our consultants. It tells what some of the data and the metrics that the consultants use. It kind of runs through the whole gamut of the process. So scroll down some more for me. We're not going to play the video, but what we did do is kind of break it down with the who, what, when, where, and why. So if you just click on one of those pluses for me, you'll see information under each of these that shows what that is. Any of them, doesn't matter. So those open up and it shows that. So a few reasons we did that. One, people learn in different ways. Some people love videos. Some people need to read the document specifically, and for anyone where English isn't your first language, our website translates into languages, so we wanted stuff directly on the website so people could access it. So it talks a little bit, some of the history that Dr. Sauce gave about kind of the who, what, when, where, how. Under that how section, we also have some information on where data is that's related to kind of how that scenario became about, and then there was a link that said, what do you think? Here's a survey, give us your feedback. So what I want to say about scenario 1, not with all the district lingo, is that what happened in scenario 1 was we developed some metrics. Our HPM team has some metrics that are also best practices, things like cascading explained in there. We overlaid that across the district. So the question is, if there is already inequities and you overlay something equally across the district, what do you still get? Inequities, right? And that is important for 2 reasons. One, for us to see, us meaning the people that work and do this every day that may not know, breathe, live this. But the other reason is to say if you do it equally, it just arises things that were already inequitable. That was a good lesson. Some people didn't know that, but it was a good lesson, right? So if we put the metrics across everything. Something that the SAP committee pushed is we want stuff to happen in all parts of the district, right? Especially when it comes to programming, and we'll get to that in the fall. But we want to see whatever they got, we want it too. Understood, right? So that is equal. So we just got to be careful with how we phrase things, right? Because that's equal. So similarly, we did that with the metrics. So it just unearthed some areas that we clearly need to focus on. Heard, understood. The question and the real conversation is, how do we do that well? How do we do it in areas where our districts are completely different? How do we do it in areas where we have buildings that are half full? There's a question about what a half-full building looks like. How do we do it in areas where we have trailers, students in trailers outside? Every part of this district looks very, very different. So to do things equally may be a challenge. So maybe we don't. But that's where you guys come in. This is where the guidance helps us shape what comes next. Can you scroll back to the top of that and go to the next round for me? So keep going. Or maybe it's on the other page, sorry. Maybe go back to overview. Top left. Sorry, we're navigating here. At the top, there's an overview in gray. There you go. Scroll down and go to the blue button this time. Maybe. All right, we're working on our technology over there. You scroll down a little bit now. If we're on overview, go to the blue button. Join us for round 2. So here's what's important in round 2. Round 1, as Dr. Sauce says, a lot of emotions. Don't close my school. We're fine. Leave us alone. We don't like nothing y'all did. Cool. Heard it. Understood. What we need, though, is like, you don't like it, so then what do? Adversity is fine. Advocacy is different, right? Those are different A's. Adversity is I don't want it. Cool. But if I'm not gonna eat my beans, my mama said, what are you gonna eat then? I need an alternative. So if it's not what you like, that's fine. But we need you to come and tell us then what do we do different? If this school is half full, tell us what to put in there to make it full. If this school and this school cannot mix, then that's fine, but then we still need to fill those buildings with something. If that is a CTAE program, tell us that that's what it is and move something. But then you gotta give up something. Dr. Sauce said, it's a Rubik's Cube. So if we move one thing, that means something else is still given somewhere else. That's the kind of feedback that is gonna help shape it. We don't like it isn't enough. We need more than that. And I'm coming to y'all truthfully, I'm completely going rogue, so I might get in trouble later. But I'm telling you what we need for you guys to help us. And I'm telling you what other communities tell us that ends up shaping things, right? They don't like it, but they're gonna give us an alternative. I need you to do the same thing. I feel a little preachy up here. I kind of like this space.
Amen.
All right, scroll down. So this is round 2, right? So we're gonna do round 2 a little differently. So we did the shock factor, right? Everybody's upset, we saw things, cool. Now, in order to give us this alternate and what, that means we gotta sit down at some tables. My SAP members can attest, when we do SAP, we do a little bit of a presentation and then we get to work. Tell us, let's think about it. Why doesn't this make sense? Why does it make sense? What else could we put over there? Why this area couldn't go here? We need that kind of level of detail. So Dr. Sauce's team is pulling all the stops. I think 100 staff volunteers are coming each of these nights to break out in breakout rooms so we can have facilitated conversations with you very similar to this. Not the stuffy, watch the video, give us your feedback, like some real, true conversation. If there is a reason that towers need to stay open, tell us why and tell us what else we putting in there. That's what I need, towers. Tell me something we don't know. Because there's a data piece to this, there's a human piece to this. We have to meet in the middle. You saw the data, you guys are the human part, help us get to the center. That's what the community collaboration piece is about. So that's what we need from you guys. So these are those dates that we can use. Then you'll see those. There's virtual ones, there's in-person ones. There is a tower-specific meeting. So you'll see that on the website. I see that the coalition folk printed that for you guys. So please attend one of those so we can get down to business. So we can figure out what round 2 will look like. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Now we're going to get a little bit more perspective from our schools. We have Ms. Anderson. She is the PTA president at Latonia High School. So Ms. Anderson, can you tell us what's going on over there? Your perspective.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Carlene Anderson. I am an LHS parent. and the president of the PTSA at Lithonia High School. Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak. First, I'd like to acknowledge the work of the superintendent and his team in presenting the current iteration of the student assignment project. Dr. Sauce, I trust you. I've had the opportunity of meeting you at the town hall at Stevenson Middle School and hearing your heart and seeing the length and journey of your professional walk and how you have advocated for the others of society, those who are marginalized, be they students with disabilities, those who are the newest arriving through the INS process, or just simply those who are displaced and have food insecurities or housing insecurity, things like that. So I really look forward to see how the feedback that you've received from the first round, how it informs the second iteration, and to prove that you are truly a man of your word going forward. Yes, sir. So, managing enrollment shifts, facility use, and long-term planning across a district as large as ours is complex work, as you've already stated, and we all know. And we appreciate the effort that's gone into this process, so thank you. At the same time, though, for families and students, these decisions are deeply personal. I heard you speak about the emotions that come with this. When we say L-Town, you know, when we say Go Bulldogs, or whatever Stevenson says or Miller Grove says, it's rooted in emotion, yes, but also history that can't be discounted. When we talk about closing a school or merging student populations, we are not only talking about buildings, we're talking about identity, tradition, relationships, and the sense of belonging that students develop over years within a school community. I'm grateful that I have a couple of educators here from Lithonia High School. We have our Teacher of the Year from last year, Ms. Paulette Brown. Let's give her a hand. We also have Ms. Danette Cruikshank, who is an active member of our PTSA and recently retired teacher from Lithonia High School. Let's give her a hand as well. And Sharika Burks, we thank you as well, PTSA treasurer at Lithonia High School, who is now serving as president at Arabia Mountain. And so we have a vested interest, okay? Lithonia High School represents more than a physical campus. It's a community hub. It's a place where generations of families have attended schools, volunteered, mentored, and built pride in their neighborhood. Parents across the community have raised several important questions as this process moves forward. And we look forward to seeing you all at Lithonia High School on the 26th. Thank you, by the way, Dr. Sauce, for being with our students recently, reading to our exceptional ed students. Let's give the superintendent a hand for that. That's what it's really about? Awesome. Thank you so much for walking it out with us. Families want to understand how students would transition socially and academically, okay? What transportation challenges might arise and how receiving schools would accommodate large student populations while maintaining strong academic resources and manageable class sizes. As you know, one of the scenarios is for Lithonia High School to merge with Miller Grove. Miller Grove has a smaller population. I'm sorry. And we are bursting at the seams at Lithonia High School. So, you know, we want to know what that looks like going forward. These questions are not expressions of resistance to change. They are requests for clarity, planning, and responsible decision-making. If change must occur, we believe the process must remain student-centered. That means prioritizing student success, safety, and opportunity in every decision. A thoughtful approach should include clear communication timelines for families, transition support, and counseling for students, and meaningful opportunities for community input as decisions are finalized. So thank you so much for these open forums. As this discussion continues, however, our community hopes the district will also address several key questions. If Lithonia High School were to close, what comprehensive transition plan would be in place for students and staff? How would the district preserve the academic programs and student organizations that define the Lithonia High School experience? And what commitments can be made today to ensure that student achievement and school culture remain strong during and after any transition? Our goal as parents and community members, of which I am a part, is not to stand in opposition to the district. Our goal is to stand with our students. I like the analogy that you both refer to with the Rubik's Cube. Those of us who had the cube know that the pieces, you can take it off, okay? And you can make it work. But if we do it the way it's designed to do it, strategic planning is an essential part of the success. And it works. You can fix it, right? Okay. We look forward to continuing this conversation in a way that includes families, educators, and community leaders as partners in shaping the future of our schools. Our community understands that change may come. What we ask is that those changes be thoughtfully, transparently, and with the well-being of our children being at the center of every decision. Schools are not simply places students attend. They are places where communities grow. Any decision about their future should honor the people who built them. And so again, I thank you so much, Rockbridge Coalition, for inviting me to be a part of this conversation. And Dr. Sauce and team, I look forward to seeing how the feedback you receive informs the second iteration of the scenarios that will be presented.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
You're welcome.
Lady Barnette?
Hello, my name is Tabitha Barnette, and I am here to represent the Towers Cluster. I have been cooking for the football team of the Towers High School football team for, yay, yes. Personally cooked for 14 years, and our church is deeply entrenched in the whole cluster. We operate an after-school program specifically for the Tower Cluster students, a 21st century program funded by the state. And so this is, and I'm also, full disclosure, a member of the SAP committee. So I'm kind of beyond some of the angst and the frustrations that many of our neighborhood and our community is experiencing right now in hearing the closures. But I am trying to get to the solutions and the alternatives, because hearing the concerns of our community in the fact of South DeKalb has consistently been victims of redlining, depression of communities, depression of home values. It's been a cyclical experience that we do not want to experience again because schools are being closed. So therefore, it is important that we, as a community, because truly I think my comments is more to you than even to them, because we need to be involved and engaged in this process. I made sure that I sat all of our loud after-school children over here, because if nothing else, the parents had to at least walk into this side of the building and come pick them up, because I needed them to be here, to hear something, right? Put their name on the list, listed as a constituent, because also one of the things that was, so in the stats that you see, the Towers cluster was omitted from the response sheets. So I wasn't able to respond on behalf of my cluster, so our data was skewed. And they corrected it later, but we missed some people, including me. But I think we need to make sure that we have I have been in DeKalb County. I'm a professional PTA parent. I've opened 4 schools in South DeKalb County as a originating PTA parent. And we fought very hard to get those schools open. And now that we have all those schools, we are still in the comparison business of comparing ourselves to the north side and what they have and what we don't have. And I, as a parent, through many years have understood that I've come to understand that our needs are different. So we need to be at the table to speak specifically about what our needs are. When the pandemic happened, DeKalb County lost 7,000 kids disappeared from the rolls, right? And all of them have not been found. I sit on the PAC team of Roland, and I just asked Ms. Jones, who is the principal of Roland, when was the last time you had a family come who have not been to school pretty much since the pandemic, January? We're still finding students. And the impact, so it's not just the impact of closing schools, it's the impact of all those students that are the reasons for the reduced enrollment that we still have not recovered. And we still don't know where they are. And some of them are sitting in our neighborhoods, homeschooling kids, but they're not homeschooling kids. And so what's gonna happen 10 years from now when these people are 18 and they have 3rd grade educations? What's gonna happen to the crime rate then? What's gonna happen to the homeless rate then? And this is not just a us problem, it's a everybody problem. And so if we do not come up with programs that is going to systematically address the issues that we have specifically within our community and ask for those things and demand those things, like free pre-K3 and pre-K4 programs, being in some of these buildings that are going to be potentially closed, making sure we are standing in the school board room and making sure that they put those things on our side of the county because that's what we need, right? We have another school within this cluster that has 2 busloads of kids that come from efficiency hotels. And we wonder why the school is actually not performing badly, but can you imagine kids going to school every day and not know when they go home if they have somewhere to sleep? 2 busloads in a small school, an under-enrolled school. And they live from day to day, week to week. That's what we need to address and the needs that we need to assess on our side of the town, because those are some of the kids who are under-enrolling in our school, who are not enrolled all the time in our schools. And so sometimes some of this is not a numbers problem. It is a finding problem. And as a community, we must become the village that we once were. When you see your neighborhood kids walking through the neighborhood in the middle of the day, we need to start asking why. And so I think, and that's a question I've just asked for the last 3 years. Because if you remember, pandemic, we're still suffering from pandemic issues. Because during the pandemic, child abuse reports went down, alcohol use went up. Those 2 things don't correlate. They should have went up, but why not? Because they were sitting in homes. And school attendance is no longer something that we think is required anymore. I missed 1 day from kindergarten to 12th grade. I got perfect attendance all my life. And the only reason I missed the school day was because I had pink eye and I couldn't go. It was a basketball game and I was a cheerleader and I wanted to go. I didn't want to miss the day. But our kids get to choose when they get to come to school. or if they come to school. And we have to change as a community if we're going to, because education is our pipeline out of poverty. It is the pipeline out of poverty. It is the pipeline out of poverty. Housing is the pipeline out of poverty. Eating meals is a pipeline out of poverty in order to be able to educate our students. And therefore, our issues are different than those on the north side living in million-dollar homes, right? And we need to advocate for what those things are and what our needs are. Having social workers in the school. And what I've found is if when we consolidate some of these schools, we will be able to fund some of these programs, but we need to make sure that it doesn't get diverted to something else. And that requires us to be engaged, to be involved, and to make the demands. It is necessary. And that's why I'm so thankful that Towers High School students are here, because truthfully, you're gonna be the ones who make this happen. Because, you know, you all will have graduated and may have even started your own families by the time some of all of this is implemented. And you need to know early, how do you advocate for yourself? And how do you make sure that we get what we need, and not just get what they have? Because we have to get what we need in order to be able to get what they have.
Amen. That is very good, very good. Very good.
That's right.
This is the kind of perspective we need from the community. We need the district to hear this because they're our partners and the district belongs to us. So now we're going to get to the question and answer period. So here are the ground rules. We got that mic in the middle. Questions, not comments. Questions. Keep them as short as possible. And then what we're going to try to do is get as many people up to ask questions. If you can't get up and move, raise your hand. But if you line up at the mic, we'll start taking questions now.
And I just want to put, this is kind of like the funeral request when the preacher gets up and say, you can't tell it all. You just got to tell some. And you will have 2 minutes. And so I'm going to put we were going to have a timer up there. Yeah, if you can do it with less than 2 minutes, you can. And I'm going to put a timer right here. And when it dings, that means your time is up, okay?
Don't take it personal.
Don't take it personal. This is just a church protocol since y'all are in a church.
Ms. Chinway, you're up.
I wanted to ask for you to further expound on what Tora said about reimagining the schools, because when I hear that, I'm thinking, is it senior citizen multi-use paired with students? Because I've never read any research that says large class sizes are good, but I do know small class sizes. As a retired teacher, I know that works.
Certainly. Thank you for that. By the way, we're both originally from LA, so far be it, here we are in Decatur, Georgia. Oh, San Francisco, you told me LA earlier. Oh, okay. Well, we'll put the Northern Cali, Southern Cali beef aside since we're in Decatur, Georgia. They don't know about that, but that's okay. Thank you for the question. So briefly, reimagining can mean any number of things, right? Reimagining means rethinking how we configure and posture schools to meet the emerging, changing needs of our time. So I think what you'll see, for example, in next rounds of scenarios that are being released, the potential for altered grade configurations, whether they be maybe just pre-K, 3, 4, and kindergarten in one building, maybe grades 1 through 6 in a building, 7 through 12 in a building, or maybe 6 through 12 in a building, and pre-K through 5 in a building. These are like options that we're going to share for folks to give even more feedback on as potential reimagining of how we can configure grade bands. Again, doesn't mean that's what will happen, but these are options of reimagining that you'll see some examples of. We're not talking at all in this moment about the same property being a school building and then some sort of other mixed-use agreement with a municipality, whether it be a senior center or a community center. Now, there is very much the possibility that school buildings, that if they were consolidated, we would potentially enter mixed-use agreements with municipalities for that to be a community center, senior center, etc. For example, I was in Stonecrest Mayor's office today. Mayor Cobble and I had a great conversation today. And we talked about, like, the city of Stonecrest's potential interest in partnering with us if there were buildings that were available for mixed-use agreements. So that is very much on the table, but we aren't talking about the same building being a school building and a community center. Thank you for the question.
Hi, my name is Anel Elder. I'm in Penley Hills Estates with the Tower Cluster, I believe. I wanted to piggyback off of the First Lady's comment about the lost children. And in the extended stay, how do you get those children out? How do you get to the children? I'm sure maybe when they come in and rent the rooms or whatever, the parents, do they list the children? Because if the children are listed, I mean, they should be going to school, but how do the kids can't do but so much because they're children. So they have to follow the lead of the parent. But how do it's a legal situation, I believe, of getting to those children, you know? How do you get to them? And then, like you said, if you see children midday walking in the community, I did this way before this was mentioned to a young lady. I said, it's 10 o'clock in the morning. Why aren't you in school? She was in Towers. Here it is, 6 months later, the baby comes, you know? And so I said, you're supposed to be in school. So now, you know what, she's one of my advocates in the community. She checks on me. How you doing, Mrs. Elder? She's a mother, and she's a great mother. And you know, she's a productive citizen as well. But we do have to ask. We do have to be concerned, just not go in and close our door and say, it's somebody else's problem. It's all of our problems. And I just want to thank you, but how do we get into those extended stays to those children?
For clarity, ma'am, you mean you're not necessarily speaking of like transportation to school, but rather knowing who these children are.
Maybe if the children are not being accounted for, maybe it's a lot of the children there that aren't being accounted for.
Certainly. I can speak to that briefly. Thank you for the question. It's a really important question. We have a Department of Social Work, and I don't want to give you the wrong number, but I think we employ around 60 or 65 school social workers that are assigned to different school clusters and different geographies of the county. Our social work department has relationships with a number of our extended stay facilities and other community advocacy groups that help us to identify where children are that may be unaccounted for or may be missing. Now, none of this is foolproof, and we're not perfect, obviously, but we have a robust, active school social work department that is boots on the ground and connecting with community organizations and extended stay facilities for us to learn as best we can who these children are and connect them or reconnect them with formal schooling. But we always welcome more information, more help. You know, if we don't want anyone to be missed or unaccounted for. And lastly, Mr. Hofstadter's here, our COO, but we do have transportation that picks children up at extended stay facilities as well, those that are enrolled in school that we know about, so that they have a ride to school, certainly, from those facilities as well. Thank you for the question.
Good evening, neighbors. I'm Verdelia Turner. I've been in DeCab all of my life, and I'm a taxpayer. We were very, very concerned about the school closings, especially in light of bills being introduced at the State House, like House Bill 1308, where the charter school industry actually asked to have first dibs on all public schools that are being closed. And I wondered right then, where the children coming from? But that leads to my question. We have a lot of development that's going on in areas such as Cedar Grove, McNair clusters. So we're wondering, where did the data come from that was used to target schools for closure, and what were the projections used for these schools? Thank you.
I'll talk a little bit about some of the metrics that the HPM used, and then I'll let Eric talk a little more about that. So all of our metrics come from our direct schools, families that enter school. So we track that. I think they actually track, there's something that updates daily on our website about capacity and enrollment. And so there is on that SAP website, there's a school data dashboard where we took 10 years of historical enrollment and then 10 more years of projected enrollment for every school building. And there's two things in that data. One is live in, so who lives in that area based on, again, where families say they live, and then who actually attends the school, so actual enrollment. So that data has been looked at pretty thoroughly. Something really tricky about that data is that there is also kind of another layer of, even though you live there, where are you going? So even though the blue line on that data tells us who lives there, that they don't necessarily go to that school. So there's yet another chart that our SAP committee looked at probably to exhaustion called sending and receiving schools. So this is where you live and then who is coming from those different areas and going to that school and vice versa. So we do look at a lot of that data. Something else the SAP committee looked at, to whoever talked about like the census data and the projections around COVID. So we actually went to Godot and got 5 years of Georgia Department of Education, thank you, sorry, to get 5 years of data around like what happened during COVID, for people that show where they are in private and home schools. So we do have that as information as well. So we did look at a lot of that information, but mostly that school data dashboard will show you our historical and then our projected enrollment, both live-in and enrollment in schools.
Good evening. My name is Thad Mayfield, and I've actually got 3 requests. I'd like to get your commitment that you'd respond to that, provide the information. First, can we get a copy of the model that you use and the inputs that help drive your decisions on scenarios? So I'm assuming it would have to be something that would be delivered to us, so is that possible?
Yeah, no, and that's a great question, right? So what was the methodology or the?
No, the actual model.
The actual, okay.
And the data, the input that drives the model.
The input that drives the model. On that dashboard that you've seen on the website, there's an interactive dashboard, and that loads up all the information and all the data, and that way we can manipulate it. Now, a lot of that is just basic numbers.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking for. I'm asking.
Where did the numbers?
No. Can we get the model, a copy of the model, and a copy of the data, the inputs that go into the model?
Yes, if we can give you a list of those, if that's what you're asking for, yes.
Right.
So the dashboard.
On the dashboard.
Yeah, so on that website, and if someone wants to pull it back up, I can show you where it is on our there's a thank you, this is terrible, a school data dashboard. So it doesn't just show the enrollment projections, it also shows all the key metrics that we are using, which you're speaking to. Right. So a few things on there, at the bottom, it explains what each of those metrics are, because people need to understand what a live-in and capacity, FCA score, all that is. Right. And then the last button on that dashboard has an interactive kind of map where you can see every school with every single data point, and then you can divvy it up however you want to. So that is on our SAP website. Okay. I think they're trying to pull it up. Oh, there it is. Okay. So at those bottom pieces is what I was talking about. So at the top you can select specific schools and or a bank of schools. And the middle where it says define the terms will tell you what each of those terms are. And that very last gray button at the bottom is where you can show all of the schools with every single metrics in one chart.
Okay, all right, so that's on the website.
Yes, sir.
The second request would be for the student transfer data. Can we get the information, the schools that they're coming from in the clusters, and where they're going to? Can we get that data? Yeah,
so we also have that on the how section. Remember when I showed you guys like the who, what, when, where, how? That is on there as well. So I can show you specifically, but it is on our website. We SAP also looked at that at exhaustion, and it does show like especially in certain areas where a bunch of kids are going, to school. I think there's a perception that a bunch of kids from South are going north. Not exactly. There's just a lot of movement in general. Okay. It's called receiving and sending schools, and I can show you where that is as well.
Okay, and then finally, can we get it, when parents make a request for a transfer, don't they have to provide the reasons that they're making the request? Can we get a report on why they're asking? So if there are some underlying problems in the schools that students are leaving from, that the community can do some things to maybe mitigate those?
That is a phenomenal question. So I have been here about 2 years, and when I came, I made that process, hardship is what he's referring to, the hardship process electronic, so we can actually track data. So I can tell you I have 2 years worth of it, about a year and a half worth of it. Before that, it was by paper, so I don't have a lot of aggregate data for the paper. But to your question, based on what I've seen thus far, there's a lot of culture issues that people are transferring out of schools for. So I haven't seen a lot of like, school culture, excuse me, issues, right? I haven't seen a lot of like, the school doesn't offer the academic program I want, et cetera. There's a lot of school culture challenges on why kids are transferring out. But yeah, we just recently get that. So if you, I can meet me afterwards, I'll give you an email address where you can get specific data links for you.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Dr. Stacy J. Johnson, and I am from a couple of organizations. I'm with the Decatur chapter of 100, National Coalition of 100 Black Women. I'm also with the cluster from Lithonia High School. And most currently, because of issues with DeKalb County Schools, I'm a former educator. I taught at 8 years at Redan High School. I've been Teacher of the Year. I've been Regional Teacher of the Year. And I've worked at Lithonia High School 2 years and had to quit after I was informed that ICE can come and take away my babies. So now I'm running for the House of Representatives for District 95. So that's why I'm here. I will not make a comment. I will ask a question. The first one, did this committee ever look at going to Kemp first to get him to pull back those voucher dollars? $6,500 vouchers took 40% of your line budget items, Mr. Sauce, before you came into office. Sorry about that. And then he increased it while we were all experiencing a blizzard to $10,000, removing another 20% of your line items, leaving your schools to 40%. I don't care how you wish your way around it, you're not going to be able to facilitate these children on a 40% budget, especially because we just voted to get rid of property taxes. I want to help you, Mr. Sauce. I've been trying to since I quit my job. I'm here to partner with this community. We've been stakeholders. I'm feeling like we're stakeholders, but it's a lot of playing in the face in DeKalb lately. So I want to help you, sir, but I want to help our children more. Okay, so I won't ask a question. I will leave it to you guys to get with me so we can do some real work for these schools and for these children in DeKalb County. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you, Dr. Johnson. I'll tell you briefly, this legislative session, personally, I've already been to the Capitol twice, and I'm going again on March 23rd. So before this legislative session is over, I'll have been at the Capitol 3 times. Now, Governor Kemp didn't grant me an audience, but various state legislators have, and I've been with members of our Board of Education. And we have engaged conversation about our needs on a variety of levels and our interest in their advocacy for a variety of bills that are out there now. So we have had a seat at the table. And by the way, on the 23rd, we're partnering with our DeKalb County District 11 PTA, and we're bringing scholars with us to the Capitol for them to have a seat at the table with us when we meet again with our local legislators.
Yes, sir. Very aware. That's because Carlene Anderson and I last year, we took 100 kids from Lithonia High School and made history at the Capitol, and that's why we're having that again this year. Thank you.
Thank you for the question.
Good evening. Gina Mangum. I apologize for being late. I'm with the East DeKalb Community Coalition. I really want to preach, but since I have to ask a question, why aren't we considering how to build up the schools instead of closing the schools? Obviously, there are issues, and there are a lot of issues. But one of the reasons I'm late is because we deal with these issues in silos, right? They're looking to put a DeKalb data center in Ellenwood, and oh, by the way, now all of a sudden we're closing all the schools at Cedar Grove, right? There's supposed to be housing coming in. We're bringing in kids, but then we're closing schools. These things don't make sense. And so what we're asking you is, why not we do a plan based on our needs and present it to you instead of you coming to us with a plan, because this is about community. I'm not naive. Money's always an issue, but priorities are an issue where you put your money. And as Black folks, we know you have limited resources. You got to make choices. But what we don't have to do is have those choices made for us based on somebody else's budget, based on somebody else's priorities, based on what you think we need. And what we need is community. We need schools that are thriving. And in order to have a thriving community, you need housing, education, health, and basic needs. So when you take away schools, that is a key component of our community, and you will destroy our community by closing schools. So I am just asking you, I'm a person of solutions. I don't ever come to the mic and complain without a plan. And we need a plan that works for us. So we need the data. Thank you, Thad, for saying, give us the data. We shouldn't have
Dr.
to ask
Sauce, you
for
want to
it.
take that, or was there a
We
question
shouldn't
there?
have to go to the website.
Gotcha.
Give us the data that you have so we can make decisions for ourselves.
Thank you.
Thank you for that. Lots to consider. Appreciate the advocacy. You know, in the interest of time, certainly we welcome, more conversation, more ideas. I can't say it enough that my commitment is transparency, is partnership, is co-construction. And what you saw initially were beginnings of a conversation. But thank you.
Okay, one last thing.
Gina?
I know I'm taking up too much time, but I
Yes,
let
2
everybody
minutes.
else come before me
Yeah.
so that I wouldn't take up all the time. I just want a commitment that we will get the data, that you will actually consider input from the community, not engagement, not standing at the mic for the 2 minutes we get, but actually look at what we are proposing that's best for us.
Thank you. Ms. Smith, you want to say something?
Thank you for that. And I think, and I'm not sure when you came in, but we kind of alluded to that as the full process, right? So we, for every scenario, every iteration, you will see what we talked about, what we heard from the community, what we changed based on that. So it is truly an iterative process based on what we're hearing from community, and those community meetings, flyers that they just gave you is really going to share all that information and then helping us process what comes out of that next round.
Thank you. Thank you. Gina, ma'am, you got the mic. No, yes, you are.
Our input and coming up with your plan. We want our data so we can come up with our plan.
Okay. Ma'am, you're next. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Angela. I'm a PTA mom over at Roland, and I'm also the hospitality chair for the Penley Hills Community Association. I briefly wanted to talk about some of the things that we've been doing to help Roland kind of come up in the ranks. We know their 5th grade gateway scores were recognized by the state this past year. We just installed a new little free library for the school right out front, and it stays filled with books. We just had our most successful book fair ever last winter, and we've got another one coming up here in the future. I volunteered for those. My son went to Roland. As a matter of fact, I realized as I was sitting here, I wore this dress as I walked him into school for kindergarten that very first day almost 10 years ago. And now as a middle schooler, he comes back with me for like parents' night out events for PTA, and he chaperones to get his community service hours in for middle school. And so like it's a community hub. It's where we vote. And we really don't want to lose that either. But my question to you is, what kind of considerations were taken in, like comparing the fact that we've got all of these new builds coming in. We've got Electric Owl was just built right over there. We've got the townhome communities that are coming in at $500,000 right down the road, $700,000 right down the road. Where Mama's Prime Time is, there's going to be apartment buildings built there. Back on Redown Road, there's apartment buildings being built back on there. So we've got an influx of people looking to move out here. Where will those kids go if not to Roland? And I just want to speak too that like our little community community association, we're not much, but like we have as well, like we've done back to school teacher drives and given supplies to the school. We've got Halloween candy bags for every kid at school. Our PTA president, she's a matter of fact a Roland Elementary alumni who's lived in the community the entire time, like 50-something years. And so like this really is a hub to us. What kind of considerations are taken into that? And also the fact that, you know, South Indian Creek MARTA is getting like a multi-million-dollar renovation, and like they're gonna build out there to have like community centers and stuff like that. So if the county's planning to invest all this money into the Covington Highway area and the overlay district, how does that like correlate to keeping Roland and Towers and stuff where they are, and if not improving on them, like investing dollars into them as well, if the county's gonna invest dollars into our area?
Yep, thank you very much. Great questions, and very important questions at that. And it is something that we're doing right now, and that's why we want your feedback. I could talk to specifically when we look at all the developments that are proposed and building in. We have a full-time planning department, and that's what we do. Constantly, every day, we work with cities, counties, we look at permits, we're staying in line with all the developers so that we know what's being built. All right, so if there's 100 homes being built, right, in some development that's being proposed, we drill way down into it, right? What kind of homes are they? What's the price point? Who are they marketing to? Now, one thing we have learned, especially from the pandemic, is that the world's changed a little bit. And during the pandemic, it was already on a downward trend, but what we saw during the pandemic is an acceleration. Where did the children go, right? Where did they go? And we have theories about this. It's still a little early, but we do have theories. I mean, I believe they're still out there, right? But education now has more choices. Homeschools, charter schools, all kinds of other schools. Things have happened. People have learned to adapt. And that's great because as a school district, we want every children to learn. We want every family to be able to have that choice of how they want their children to learn and where they want them to learn. We would like it to be with the DeKalb County School District. And we want to offer a product that people want to become a part of that, all right? And we welcome that, and we want to encourage that. So when we look at all the building that is going on, right, and then if you go to the dashboard, just for the data piece, one of the things that we found is there's so much capacity of empty seats, particularly along certain corridors, that it would take thousands of houses, just by sheer, now just mathematics statistics, right? Thousands of houses in order to get enough children to be able to fill what's currently there. And generally when people develop, they don't develop that quick, right? It happens over 10, 15, sometimes 20 years, right? And that's assuming all the trends still come. So we will continue to watch it. Now, there was a question earlier about the buildings themselves, all right? Right now, we just need to kind of maybe look at right-sizing what we do have so that we can provide more opportunities for the children that we know we have in the buildings that we do have, all right? So if that means that there's other buildings that may come available, as we looked at, we want those to continue to teach and provide services, right? All kinds of services. All those students, the ones that we just spoke about that didn't show back up, when in about 5, 6 years, right, we're gonna start seeing them and they're gonna need more education services. We don't want to just say that, hey, you're 18 years old and you're out, see you, have a great life. That's not what we're about. And that's why we're looking at using some of these buildings as becoming hubs, not only to continue to provide opportunities for the children that we do know we have, but then all the other types of alternative living right now that we know are gonna come back out and they're gonna need those services. Adult education, right? Senior services, daycare, right? How do we bridge those gaps? How do we work with the community? How do we work with the county and these developers? Is there a way we can go into some of these repurposed schools and create a hub closer to the communities that need them so that they have greater access, right? And it can be done, and that's part of the reimagining and the visioning, so I appreciate where you're going. Now, from a resource point of view, we don't want to lose the school properties because to your point, one day it may turn and we may need those back and reopen schools, right? So we got to balance all of that out. And that's part of what this conversation is, right? Because we're going to continue to educate the children no matter where they are. And we're going to provide the best opportunities that we can for them in the best facilities we have. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, my name is Shioma Beasley, and my children go to Peachcrest Elementary. I don't think it's on the list, but my daughter also attends Towers High School, and that's on the list. But my question is, well, I want to say something about the lost children. I don't think they lost. I think they dare because my children attend Peachcrest, and I used to get a call every day for the tennis office, say, like the voice message, and it would say, your child wasn't at school today. And I would call the school and be like, my child was there. And they'd be like, your child is there. But I asked the attendance office, like, why is it keep calling my phone? And I feel like it wasn't accurate with, like it wasn't telling, the data wasn't correct. So it was saying that my child wasn't there. So the school ended up calling social service, and when they called social service, the only reason, that it wasn't an investigation or it didn't went nowhere because they used that my children, their lunch number, it matched up to them being in school, not just the teachers or the principal vouchering, like, okay, I did see your child here. It's because of the lunch number. So I'm saying maybe, so I did my little investigation, and the teachers say, well, we have a certain time where we have to send the attendance back to the office. So I'm like, well, worry about all the kids that come late from doctor's appointment. Worry about the kids that is there but don't say nothing. So maybe they are there. They just not counted. And that happens so much in like around the community, because not only my sister, my niece, she get a call to say, your child not there. And we know that we send our kids to school every day, but they not counting. So I'm just trying to figure out like what y'all doing about that, because y'all got all this data and all this stuff online. Maybe it's not even adding up at all. And then, so y'all saying that the kids not going to school, but then when the kids are going to school, it's not counting. They not counting at all. And then the other second thing, I had a neighbor, she had an 8th grader, and she went to school one time out of the month. I called defense, they went and asked the school, people called, they wasn't even concerned about that at all. So I'm trying to see, are y'all really concerned about the children going to school, or it's just all, yeah, because it was. And I'm telling y'all, ask people around, like, is they really counting your children? Like, is your children going to school every single day? Because it said that my child missed 30 days out of a semester. And the only reason why they didn't investigate or call defects is because they looked at my children's lunch number. Now, have I sent my children to school with lunch, it would have been saying that they were being missed. They wouldn't been counting. So.
Thank you for that. Remind me again, Miss, your last name, Miss?
Beasley.
Miss Beasley?
Yes.
Miss Beasley, thank you for your willingness to share that. Sounds like we probably would benefit for some more conversation with you offline to see what was missed or what those challenges emanated from. But thank you for being willing to share that. If I could just add, first of all, inaccurate attendance on a day-to-day basis, there's never an excuse for that. We have to get it right. But I do want to demystify. Enrollment data is not derived from the attendance data. And good, bad, or indifferent, we have 20,000 open seats in our school district. There's 179 school districts in Georgia. 160 of them can fit in our empty seats. And that isn't derived from attendance data, but we have to always get it right. And it sounds like some things were missed in your case. So I'd like to better understand offline how that came to be and what we can do to correct that, because you're entitled to that too.
I'm not saying just me, but I'm saying like if this affect one family, and let's say it was 1 million families that wasn't counted for, then how many is that?
I appreciate that, but again, I'm sensitive to
I can't say accurate numbers.
Yeah,
That's why I can't even look at y'all data, because it's not even accurate. Like, is it anybody going up there every day? This is the funniest part. I asked the teacher, I said, what time do y'all turn y'all attendance sheet in? She said, we have to have it in by 8 o'clock. School starts at 7:45. So all the kids that had doctor's appointment or was late, they would not be counted for it. So this just happened to me and other people around me, but if you looking, I mean, it's just so much. If it's 1 million family that been affected, then I don't know the number because I can't look at y'all data. I don't know what kids register or what kids not register, but, you know.
We have
I
the
just
enrollment
wanna,
data.
You know, it maybe need to be an investigation
Sounds like we need
into
to.
all the school systems so we can have accurate data, so we can be able to talk about it, because we can't talk about it if we don't know the number, right? That's right. Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you.
Donna, can you get her contact information? Next up.
Hi, my name is Amani Williams. I am a parent of students at Bob Mathis Elementary, which is on the list, as well as Chapel Hill Middle School. My question is, I'm new to the area. We just moved here let's say 5 years ago or so, 5, 6. I think we're going into year 5 right now. Bob Mathis is a school that services special needs community, right? Here, on this side, my concern is what happens to those kids? This is shut down, reconfigured, whatever it may be. We already have transportation issues right now. So what happens to those kids? What happens to those families? Because not every family has an advocate. Not every family knows what to do, who to talk to. They literally, my family is blessed. We can walk to school, a short jaunt. But other families can't do that. Where those resources are, I want to see services that are created specifically for that special needs community lost or shifted somewhere that's a further reach, because Bob Mathis does have a large community involvement. Grandparents come, all kinds of people come and support the school. Parents, grandparents, it's literally a community. So my concern is if we shift those things, especially services like that, what happens to those families? Especially in light of transportation issues that we're currently having with the numbers we have.
Thank you. It's a two-part question. Mr. Hofstadter, do you want to speak first to transportation, and I'll speak to the second part?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of transportation, we're going to continue to transport those children. We're going to provide them those services no matter where they live, and we're going to bring them to where the services are being delivered. In this case right now, it's at Bob Mathis, right? Part of this process is, if we can, we would like to actually enhance those services, all right? Can we make more room? So, because we know there's other families out there that could benefit from it. But in any case, and in all cases really, when it comes to those particular children and their specific needs, we will find a way to transport them. Okay.
And I would add to that, children with IEPs, we're obligated, children with special education services, we're obligated to serve no matter where they live, no matter the school configuration. And so again, I know folks saying school on the list. I can't say enough. At this moment, there is no decisions about this school or that school, but understand it's a scenario that, that we're seeking input on. But for those schools that serve as hubs for district-based services, which Bob Mathis does, if a school that had those services, district-based services, was consolidated and no longer serving as a K-5 school every day, then whatever the other school was that would then serve in its place, those services would be there and children would be transported, whether Bob Mathis or otherwise. But I appreciate the question.
Good evening. Thank you all for taking time out to share with this community today. My name is Janice Buchanan. I am a grandparent of children who attend 5 or so different clusters in this county. So I have a really vested interest. While I am not one of the folk present in this audience today, interested in receiving data ad nauseum, what I am interested in being able to do, which I currently cannot do, despite all my efforts when I go to your website, is download your data that you're presenting to me as a parent. I need to be able to massage it in columns, rows, etc., that work for me, make sense for me, and apply to my situation. I'm not interested in 27 schools. I am interested in those 5 schools that might be affecting my grandchildren. I can't do that with the information you're presenting on the website. None of it. The simple page where you're giving me the current iterations in the little blue and white columns, even that page is neither downloadable nor printable in a manner that I can reasonably currently utilize as a parent.
Thank you. Yeah, that's phenomenal feedback. I feel like it was 2 sides of the same coin. So we used to put PDF things up there. We used to put different types of documents, and then we got, well, then, you know, people that don't speak English cannot translate it. So we went now to this side where we could put everything directly on the website where people can translate it. As it relates to the dashboard, I do have my computer here, so let me look at that, because I believe that you should be able to download something off of there. Let me look at that, because I believe I did mention that to our consultants, that people want to be able to download that information, manipulate it, and use it for their benefit and learning. So let me, I have my computer with me tonight. Let me look at that, because I believe there is a way to download something from the dashboard, but let me look at that. But as far as the website piece, we've definitely moved to putting things directly on the website page, just for more accessibility so people can translate it. We have 175 different languages in the district, so putting stoic documents up there, it just doesn't work for translation purposes.
Okay.
But I'm here, so let me look at my computer to see if I can manipulate that for you, show you how to manipulate the dashboard information.
So it's all the data that you're presenting, no matter what type it is, the columns, the charts, what have you. If you could just fix that part.
I'll do my best.
That's good feedback. It's good reminders about ease of accessibility. So thank you for that, Ms. McCann.
Good evening. Thank you guys so much for your time being here this evening and for addressing all of the issues that we have in the community. I'm Heather Scalzetti. I'm the legislative chair for PTA, and I'm also here as a stakeholder. And I just want to kind of reiterate a few things. As national surveys have stated, there's a difference between school choice and parent choice, and parents really want to just have a seat at the table, and that's the importance of having conversations like what we're having here this evening. The other is school choice, which then provides different options for schools. So sometimes people use the information incorrectly when we're having conversations, and I just want to highlight that we do, as parents, want to have a seat at the table and help guide those decisions. We're not necessarily looking for multiple school options in terms of facilities, and we do want to be involved in a curriculum and for the future of our children. So I just want to reiterate that as we're having these discussions moving forward. And as a legislative chair, I just want to raise a concern as a stakeholder about our public education system. Senate Bill 475 just crossed the Senate over the last week. And this Senate bill, it mandates local boards of education treat charter local schools no less favorably than traditional public distribution in the funds and resources, including those from special purposes of local options and sales tax. So this is a grave concern to protect our public funding for our public schools. And my first question is not only just to our panel, but to everybody here in the room. If we're going to support our public education and ask them to oppose this bill just so we can make sure we still have our current funding for our public school system. And then my second question is, if this bill does pass, which I hope it doesn't, and we all take action today and tomorrow, is that what can we do, you know, given the imbalance that would then be diverted to these charter schools to protect our funding and prioritization?
75, absolutely. We've already called them. We've already told them about what this can do. Now, it's about East Lost money, right? The ones of how now charter schools not only have received funding diverted from public education over the years, Now they're trying to also ask for East Plus funding for their facilities. In that particular bill, there are a few key words in there. It's already been taken, and I'm just going to say it straight out. So I agree with you. We're going to continue to work with that. There are some consequences. In particular for this bill, it's about educational programming. Now, most East Plus money goes to, buildings, right? Capital improvements. Some does go to educational programs such as textbooks, right? Band instruments, things like that. Those are things we're going to have to look at that could impact our ability to be able to fund those type of projects moving forward when you talk about favorably. So by passing this, it not only hurts us financially, it could potentially also, in order to protect the district, we're going to maybe have to look at other diversions for funding these programs, because we're going to continue to use it. The easiest way is just to say no.
Correct.
And defeat it. Long story short.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Ms. Calzetti, look forward to seeing you on March 23rd at the Capitol.
Good evening. My name is Davita Mahoney. I'm an alumni president from Towers High School. I graduated from Towers in 1988. I've been the alumni president for 3 years, and to me, that's a historical school. This year, Towers will be 63 years old. Taking that school out of community is like taking away a historical monument. If y'all take Towers and make it a middle school, the scholarships that we give to the students each year, who will we give them to then? We give scholarships to our seniors that are graduating, going to college for certain types of programs that they attend, that they have at the school, one of them being a technology scholarship. We give out basketball scholarships. And, what will we do then? Y'all say y'all don't have the funding for the schools, but when I graduated, we graduated at the school. We didn't go down to Georgia State and graduate. Y'all pay money for that. Can't that money be used for the school?
I want to let you finish.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Remind me again, Miss. Your last name, Miss?
Mahoney.
Miss Mahoney. Thank you. And listen, I'm checking ID. I don't believe class of 88. If you'd have told me class of 98 or 2004 or something, I'd have believed you. I don't believe 88. First of all, thank you for your service as president of the Alumni Association. Again, that harkens back to things I said when I began my comments about the heritage and the legacy and the tradition that's so important to remember and keep in mind in every school building, whether it's being discussed for potential consolidation or not. And Towers High School is a wonderful example of that. So thank you for reminding us of that and for your leadership. Two quick responses. First, I want to again preface with, I know Towers was named in the initial scenario. That's why we're here, to hear from you. The challenge in this is, and I'll just use Towers as an example, considering the wonderful legacy and heritage that you referenced, considering that you lead, and the continued service and partnership you're offering for our graduates still now to this day. That's where we have to start. On the other side, again, to use Towers as an example, right now, Towers is barely 50% full. It has seats for about 1,300, and it has about 740, 720 students. That doesn't mean that because of that, its fate is sealed, but we have dozens and dozens of schools, 40, 50 schools, 35% capacity, 40% capacity, 50% capacity. Towers is one of them. It's about presents us with this real, ever-present conundrum, challenge, whatever words you want to use, of how do we honor that legacy that you, of course, lead as the alumni president and contend with these modern realities of so many schools, barely 50% full. You mentioned the graduation ceremonies. Not that anyone wants to talk too much dollars and cents. That cost is a drop in the bucket for the district's overall budget. Some of y'all know I was principal of Chamblee High School more than 10 years ago. And by the way, when I was principal of that high school, we had our graduation, 7 or 8 years ago.
My kids graduated
Yep.
from Chamblee.
Okay. Were they there when I was there? 15, 16, 17, thereabouts?
Probably so.
Okay. Well, anyways, you remember the experience, right? Certainly we did fine in that respect. I mean, there was always the issue of rain, extreme heat, challenges with ADA accessibility. And I'm telling you, we had so much feedback from families who desired a more controlled environment and a more pleasant experience. So for the last 2 years now, we've had it at GSU. The feedback we've received from those families have been overwhelmingly positive. Keep this going, it's amazing. We poll the families periodically to see is this what we continue with. Budget.
Look at Towers High School.
Yeah.
63 years old.
Yeah.
Only thing that they've changed in the school is put an auditorium in there. So I go up to the school all the time, and then to look at that school and see how it has gone down, and y'all haven't tried to rebuild it, to me, it brings down the morale of the students. So who would want to go to a school as old as it is, and nothing is being done about it?
That's
but
fair.
Then Cross Keys is getting a makeover, and they're just as...
I'm not justifying one decision over the other. And if you were here in the beginning, you heard me say, we have not kept all of our promises. We haven't been 25 years ago. But obviously you and many others have been associated with the district much longer than that, and you know and you've lived unfulfilled promises. There's trauma there. There's lack of trust there. I respect that. I can't right all those wrongs, but we still are in this place that we have these challenges we have to think through, and that's why your input and everyone else here this evening is so important, and why no decisions have been made. I respect that.
Yeah, we're getting short on time, so Tommy, we're going to need to wrap it up, and then you guys are good? Okay. Yeah, if you're in line, we're going to go ahead and do the question. What I would ask is that we're going to, before we leave, we're going to acknowledge any elected officials or candidates that are here in the room. So if you would queue up behind the folks that are asking questions, and when you get to the mic, your name and what you're running for. That's it. Okay? But I do appreciate you being here, because you guys, you elected officials who have the courage to run for office, I respect what you guys do, and you guys are part of the solution, so we want to recognize your commitment to this effort. So go ahead, ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Danette Cruikshank, and I am a recent retiree from DeKalb County Schools. I retired at Lithonia High School after having spent the last 16 months of my career there. However, prior to Lithonia High School, I was at possibly the best kept secret in DeKalb County, Open Campus High School. Yes, now called Elizabeth Andrews High School. Now, I came today to support Ms. Carlene Anderson. I did not intend to be here this long. But as I've been sitting here, I'm hearing a lot of solutions bandied about for the younger kids. My advocacy is for the older kids, the ones that we say are lost, that we cannot find. 5 years from now, those kids are going to have a 7th grade education. They're going to want to go back and matriculate and get their diplomas properly, not through GED, because they probably wouldn't pass the GED anyway, having completed the 6th grade or the 7th grade. Today's GED is rigorous. They're going to want to go back to school and rematriculate and catch what they did not get, if we want to call it the pandemic years or whatever. So you're going to have some 19-year-olds and some 20-year-olds who have missed the last 5 years of school. What are you going to do with those kids? Because if some of you don't realize, they have completely changed the structure of Elizabeth Andrews High School, Open Campus High School. It is the only high school in the county that serves children over the age of 18, used to be over the age of 21. My oldest student in the 23 years that I was at Elizabeth Andrews High School was 64 years old. She was a grandmother. She got derailed as a teenager because she got pregnant. She raised her children, raised her grandchildren, and her one goal in life was to go to seminary. She came back at 64, finished her last 2 years of high school, and she went to Texas and she was in seminary. Thank you very much. I'm very passionate about my school. So even though I retired from Lithonia High School, my heart is planted at Elizabeth Andrews High School. Those children, those 21-year-olds, 30-year-olds, some of our international students who have no documentation, so they can't go to your neighborhood schools, who went to Elizabeth Andrews High School, who is advocating for them? I need for you all to fix the model of what Elizabeth Andrews High School was. We were the model for Rockdale. We were the model for all these other open campuses all over the state of Georgia. And now us, we, the model, has been destroyed. The prototype has been destroyed. And the people who modeled us are thriving. Okay? I need for you all to revisit the Elizabeth Andrews. Dr. Sauce, they're just down the breezeway from you. Okay? You know the model they have now is not working. When I was there, it worked for you to fix that. And I want you to use some of these empty schools that are eventually going to come up and put us over there, put us away so that we can go back. I would have worked another 5 years for DeKalb County if I could have stayed at Elizabeth Andrews High School the way it used to be. I would have given you 30 years. I gave 25. Okay, I promise you. In the church, I would have given you 30 years if I could have stayed at the model that Elizabeth Andrews High School was when I started there back in 2001. Okay? And so I'm saying to you, yes, help the babies. But I want you to also go find the missing kids who are now going to be too old to go anywhere in DeKalb County because we have stopped taking children at Elizabeth Andrews High School over the age of 21. So now you have 21-year-olds who did not finish high school. They have absolutely no option but to take a GED that they will never be able to pass. Okay? Give them a place to go. They deserve a place to go if they are willing to go back and matriculate and do it properly. Give them some place to go.
Thank you. Duly noted, and thank you for your service and advocacy.
Good evening. My name's Claire Scheck-Snyder, and I've lived in DeKalb for 40 years. And I care deeply about this. And I don't know what my expectation for this evening was, but I really thought since you were talking to people in South DeKalb that you and 21 schools are proposed potentially to be closed, that you would give some specifics about the closure or potential, or what means, why are those schools on the list? Are they too old? You know, and which ones, for all of us, we may not know all of the schools that are in South DeKalb. I would have expected some phase on March 8th, and you're going into your second phase, but when you have a great turnout like this, specifics really matter, and that we understand the decisions and thought process now to get into the second stage. And I'm kind of disappointed with this evening.
Can you remind me your name, please?
Claire. Last name's too big.
We were invited guests here this evening.
Oh, okay.
We were invited guests here for a conversation.
I would sort of think you do your same shtick, though, wherever you go. I think it would really be helpful because we're talking around the issues, and we heard heart-wise from the three representatives of these clusters. But I think your job is to tell us the specifics. I'm having a real hard time with that word, but...
Ms. Claire, thank you, and I'll offer that beginning March 23rd, our district-hosted community engagement sessions resume with a lot of specifics, or scenario 2, round 2 iterations that go deep into school by school. That wasn't our understanding of our invitation this evening, but thank you, feedback received, and I appreciate that you're here tonight.
And if you still need them, right, because I think orange button's up there for round 1, where that video page is under the who, what, when, where, the how has that. So there is a document that is